Since our program this evening will be about the revitalization of Perkasie, I thought this would be a good time for you to become familiar with some songs that have been written about Perkasie. Roy Landenberger and Catherine Yackel-Hoge wrote these songs. Roy Landenberger was an artist, as you know, because his artwork has been displayed here in this very room. He was also an advertising sign painter. He and his brother Phil lettered trucks and signs for my granddad's Perkasie cigar factory. Later, the two brothers had a string orchestra, which was made up of banjos, mandolins, and ukuleles. They were quite popular in this area. Then in 1919, the Landenbergers moved to Pontiac, Michigan, where he played the trombone in the Oakland Motor Company concert band. When they moved back to Perkasie in 1921, they lived in a house on 3rd Street Hill, right across from my family. Our families were friends, and I became lifelong friends with their daughter, Betty. In fact, we went to the Philadelphia Conservatory of Music together at the same time, and we both received our Bachelor of Music degrees from there. The Philadelphia Conservatory is now part of the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. Betty was a piano teacher and organist in St. Stephen's Church for many years, and when Betty married Cy Dillman, they moved to Ray Street, and then they were neighbors to Charlie Bowles' factory. Small world. I'm sorry that Roy's grandchildren could not be here this evening. They both have inherited the family's musical genes. Davis played the bass in many orchestras, and Carol Jean plays the violin and has just retired from her teaching position in the Lebanon City School District. In 1916, Roy composed Perkasie Active and Attractive in order to honor the Perkasie firemen for valiantly fighting the fire at Keller's store. This will be the first song that our choir will sing. We were very curious about Keller's store, and finally, Jean Parker found that this site was very important to her family history. It was located on 7th and Market Streets, next to the train tracks. This location later became Sterner's Pharmacy. Catherine Yackel-Hoge was the daughter of Wilton Yackel, who was our state representative. Mr. Yackel owned a jewelry store on 7th Street, across from the train station. Shelley and Fenstermacher's hardware store presently occupies this area, and I hear that this section of town may be undergoing another change in the future. I believe that Kitty Hoge got her education at Temple University. In 1922, the Plaza Theater was built on Market Street for $45,000. It was owned and operated by the Perkasie Fire Company. That really surprised me. At first, silent films were shown there, and Kitty Hoge was one of the accompanists for these films. Before the plaza was built, silent films were shown on the 2nd floor of the firehouse, which was then on 7th and Arch Streets. Elsie Van Omeren was the pianist for these films. I began taking elocution lessons from Mrs. Hoge when I was 5 years old. She arranged to have me recite a poem, My Shadow, on a Reading radio station. Because I wasn't tall enough to reach the microphone, she sat me on top of a baby grand piano. And all I remember was that I kept looking down at my shiny black patent leather shoes. I began taking piano lessons from Mrs. Hoge when I was 7 years old. It's funny the things that impress you when you're at that age. I noticed that she wore this ring on her little finger, and I thought, wow, I would love to have a ring like that. And I did. The only thing is, I think she got her ring at her dad's jewelry store, and I got mine from Avon. Many years later, as I was teaching one of my very talented students, I noticed that she had a little pinky ring on, very much like mine. So the beat goes on. Kitty conducted a very successful musical kindergarten, and later her daughter, Kitty Lee, helped her when she was too busy with her 5 children. Around 1976, Barbara Light taught Kitty, and she was a big help with her when Kitty developed some health problems. In 1996, her granddaughter Betsy and her husband Daniel Shaw started a preschool at the same location under the name of the Gingerbread House. I'm very sorry that Betsy and her husband Dan couldn't be here this evening. They really were planning to come, and at 4 o'clock today I got the telephone call, and he was very, very upset. He said they just took his father to the hospital, so they meant to be here, and it's too bad that they could not be. This is a good thing that they kept on the family tradition of teaching. In 1929, Kitty wrote C.C. Perkasie for Perkasie's 50th anniversary, and this will be the choir's second selection. In 1979, she wrote I Love Perkasie for the 100th anniversary of Perkasie, and this will be our third number for the choir. Now I'd like to introduce the members of our newly formed choir. Our soloist this evening was my granddaughter Rebecca Bender, and then there's her husband Walter Bender, and in alphabetical order, just so you can see I'm not pulling strings here. Tim Craig, Lois Grove, Darwin and Pat Hendricks, my niece Jeanette Johnson, my husband David Mann, Trudy Milligan, Dolly Moyer, Jean Parker, Ruth Ann Porter, and last but not least, Margie Van Omeren. I first thought that I was going to call them the Perkasets. I thought, no, we're not druggies. So we're going to call them the Perkasets. So now we will give you our tribute to the fire company.